As it done, so it is undone. Just as the Lego, you put things together, in the same way it is dismantled. As things are done, so they are undone. It is in relation to our identity. Our identity is formed as a result of contracted consciousness, which essentially consciousness collapses into a point in time where it temporarily entertains itself as this limited organism. Otherwise, there is no authority outside of that. It's not that your fault that there is this condition. You have to remove yourself permanently out of the picture. And we will speak about that because this is very important. This is the higher mathematics. The high mathematics of the spiritual process, of the spiritual progress, is precisely in that. Removing yourself out of the picture one way or the other.
Yeah!
So here, removing yourself out of the picture is in relation to that this ignorance even, not a result of being stupid or being ignorant. In a spiritual dialogue, sometimes that may be related to you or to others for the purpose of creating some movement. But does not necessarily that what is being said at a certain point, let's say 2 days ago, is valid today to someone, because that someone is no longer there where that approach is required. 2 days, 2 years, doesn't matter, just so that you understand. So are all creas the same in nature? First, we need to understand that creas are movements of all sorts. In tantric vocabulary, there is this, the trinity, without which there is nothing, absolutely nothing. The trinity which required to create. Will, knowledge and action. Will, knowledge and action. Ikcha, jnana, kriya. Ikcha, will, jnana, knowledge, kriya, action. It's the primordial womb of creation. The womb, out of all the divinities even came out. All the primordial archetypal energies come out of that womb. It's the womb of creation. Not just the universe, the physical universe. The very blueprint of trillions and zillions and infinitude of universes contained in that womb. So that kriya belongs to that, you see? It's indispensable part. It's the part of that trinity. So action, it's that. So you understand the essence of what kriya is. And that, what is essentially gives birth to everything, obviously is present at absolutely every strata of creation, at every level of creation. We can speak about it later on, how Ikcha Jnana Kriya translates essentially into this relationship known as seeing and seeing, because that's what it is. It naturally translates into this duality of subject and object experiencing. But to understand the essence of Kriya is that Kriya is that. It's action, motion. It's something by virtue of which anything can be accomplished. Anything can be created. Anything can be built. Anything can be therefore dismantled. So there are Kriyas that are unmistakably the result of a release. But then, as greater integration begins, and integration is an indispensable part of all awakening processes. Anything that we gain as a breakthrough would have to be integrated. It's an indispensable part. It has to be integrated. Otherwise, the experience is a waste. It belongs to the memory. It happened, no longer happening, memory. Integrated, it is in the presence. It is integrated back into the fabric of our consciousness. Or reintegrated, if you prefer. So there's a phase when Kriyas become essentially much more refined, much more refined. We could even say that Kriyas is an umbrella, and all these spontaneous asanas, pranayamas, bandhas, mudras, all variations of how Kriyas can manifest. So at some point it's all chaotic, very dramatic, chaotic, and kind of wild. But then something begins to change. And some movements become organized. You become to make gestures, movements. Then you look up in a book, in Google, you buy this, and you see that what you've done actually exists already in the vocabulary of spiritual lexicon, in certain cultures. Your leg went here. Your fingers get locked in the palms of your hands. You begin to see that this actually has been observed and carefully recorded. So these are no longer random gestures, random movements. They have precise purpose as they aid in directing energy where it needs to go, or preserving energy where it needs to continue the process, as in the case of bandhas. Bandha is simply that, it's a lock. It locks the body, let's say down here and up here, and creates the possibility for pranic flow, for that energetic current flow, to work in a certain area for a greater duration, at least while you're sitting. So this is the nature of more advanced Kriyas. Then Kriyas progress even more, into more. They progress into mudras, not just mudras done with hands. They progress into mudras of attitude. It's a spontaneous attitude that the body or psyche takes. And they are, of course, not just because some stress is being released, but because the process is now entered into these phases of great integration. It's yoga. This is integral yoga. Okay, we'll keep that one. We're going to go into criticism now of, let's begin making friends in high circles. So integral yoga is that, begins by itself, spontaneously. It's not how many books and systems we acquired and understand this. Integral yoga is that, direct experiencing. In fact, when we talked about Samkhya philosophy, I want to just take your mind for a minute back and explain a little bit that the darshanas, the 6 systems of Indian philosophy, they exist in pairs. Nyaya is paired by Vaisheshika. Samkhya is paired with yoga, and Karma Mimamsa is paired with Vedanta. So what is gained as understanding of conceptual structure of reality, the metaphysical structure in Samkhya, is then being verified through direct experiencing of yoga. Yoga is unity. It's an integral process. And many of you already experiencing that yoga, the fruits of that yoga, of the blossoming of that yoga. Spontaneous, not going to the class, which is also very good. There's nothing wrong in doing voluntarily yoga. But to many of you, involuntary yoga already taking place. Today, for instance, for the first time, I was very pleased to see Walter had different kriyas. You were trying to stand on your head, which marks simply a different shift in the process, inward. Because before it was very, very chaotic, and in many of you I observe as well. It's not that I want to now suddenly put a bag into your head that now you have to, in meditation, start doing, things. Symmetrical and like, I'm integrated. Fluid, Sometimes it's always fluid. It's always beautifully fluid. But sometimes it has that firmness to it. Sometimes the body just goes into this perfect, yogic, classical shape, and just locks itself there. And you feel the power there. You feel the power immediately with a sense of peace. That centeredness there is undescribable. When the spinal column aligns and the breath is in the medium channel, it's undescribable experience. Nothing comes in comparison with that sense of tranquility. So this, when we talk about Kriyas. So of course Kriyas go from very wild, raw, dramatic, to intermediate, to very subtle, very refined. Where essentially you would experience these Kriyas, all of you will experience that, if this is your destiny to lead awakened life, throughout your life. All of you. Greatest rishis and greatest canonical figures were in Kriyas until their last breath. So when teachers of non-duality come up and they, with the picture of Ramana Maharshi next to them, and begin to deny this energy, they're just like, to me, it's total contradiction in terms. Ramana Maharshi's body was constantly contorted because of the movement of prana in the body. Because he was perpetually in a flow of Shakti. Perpetually. So many other canonical figures. Anandamaya Ma's body was known for being constantly in Kriyas until her very old age. So it's not something that is going to just be part of your meditation, part of the sitting on a yoga mat. I want to break something free for you here. If you're daring, if you're really serious about that, you also have to consider that you will no longer be the same as others. Because the breakthrough happens through you, it's going to be a price to pay for it. And I'm known for not keeping it kind of undercovers, you know, because you need to know it. Somewhere it's better, it is consciously made, that decision. I'm not afraid to be different. I'm not afraid sometimes stand in the middle of the restaurant and go into Kriya. You know? I'm not afraid to lie down on the floor in the most important meeting and roll a little bit there. When there's time to shake up hands in a special kind of way, you know? It's like you can then get up and do all these, you know, adjustments. Yeah. Or the normal, conditioned, highly contracted consciousness will take over and you will feel stupid. You will feel completely that this is, oh my God, okay, I'll stay here for 4 more days, but when is it going to finish, you know? It's like, when I'm at home. And then you go back home and you like really get back to your desk and you know, like to everything normal. It's like I sit down to work and it's just like it's nothing to do with you. Trust me. It's like inshallah, 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 God's will, God's willing. I love that part in the culture, in Muslim culture. It's always, whenever something we speak in terms of future, there is this spontaneous reminder that there is greater will at work, always. Whatever we plan for ourselves, there is also, we are part of the greater plan. No matter how grandiose our ideas, there's a greater unfoldment happens. If only we can have the wisdom, clarity, courage, and humility to recognize that, then everything will be fine.